Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Michael Sullivan. He's the executive director of the Tennessee Republican Party, along with Debra Maggart, a former Tennessee legislator and now a lobbyist on the Hill. We're talking about the Glenn Casada scandal. Debra, before in the first block, you talked a lot about the fact that the state's kind of caught in the middle here. It's not clear exactly how you get rid of a speaker. He can obviously resign, but what does that mean about putting in a new one? This is both the Constitution is unclear about it, and the House rules are maybe not as clear as they'd like to be. That's kind of, we're sort of caught in the middle between those right now?
Well, the Constitution only speaks to the fact that the Speaker is the Speaker for a 2-year term.
There's no removal process.
There's no removal process, correct, in the Constitution.
And in the House rules, what can you do?
There's no removal process either in the House rules about the Speaker per se.
Did our founding fathers just not think that ever be necessary? That's an odd thing to leave out.
I actually think it's about separation of powers. I think that it might have been written that way by the founding fathers of our state, because if you could just take the Speaker out all the time, then what's to stop the other 2 branches of government, when they're unhappy with the Speaker, from just taking the Speaker out? I wonder if that's why it was put that way, that the Speaker is the Speaker, because you also don't even have to be a member of the General Assembly to be the Speaker. You know, when
the House rules state that should the Speaker resign, that that position goes to the pro tem until there's another election. And it's pretty broad in that sense.
Changing the Constitution is an elongated process in Tennessee, particularly if you're going to do it by public. You don't want to do it. You wouldn't want to do a special session, a special constitutional convention to do that. That's one way to do it. The other way is to do it the way we did the lottery, which is the legislature has to pass it in 2 separate sessions, and the second time they have to do it by 2/3. Then it goes on the ballot. You can only go on the ballot when the governor's up, the seat is up for the election, and it has to get 50% more than what the governor's race was, a majority. I mean, that's pretty complicated. So are we just sort of stuck in this situation for a while? I mean, if we change the House rules, even that, we're not clear exactly when that can be done.
That is correct, and I think maybe the simplest thing to do is to follow the rule book. You know, the simplest thing for everyone is for the House to follow the House rules that are in place, and the House rules say the Speaker pro tem becomes the Speaker if the Speaker resigns.
And so go ahead and let Bill Dunn do it and have an election if they want to have that for another separate Speaker. Do that when they come back in January?
Well, it's possible that they can do that. The question, as we were talking about in the break, was is it an organizational session? Because that is something that happens when we elect the Speaker in the first place.
And that only happens every 2
years. If the rules state, though, until there's another election, that you would just it'd be the next session that they could have, whether that's special or whether that's January.
And then it wouldn't cost extra money.
Michael, there's a poll out by Vanderbilt University that says 63% of the people they talk to, voters, and this is a recent poll, want Glenn Casada to leave. Again, what kind of political pressure does that create on lawmakers and on the party, that if this thing continues to get now balled up in a lot of political
as we see here today, he has set an August 2nd resignation date, and so that, according to that poll, and I certainly have some issues with their history over the past, whether it was predicting Phil Bredesen to win by a point or that the Metro Transit referendum would pass by 18 points. They were way off there. So
you don't think the public wants him removed?
I'd be very surprised if
63%?
If 63% of the state has a full understanding of this entire issue and knows what's going on. And
Debra, what are lawmakers hearing in their offices? Are they getting a lot of phone calls or emails about this?
I don't think they are. I personally, in Sumner County, I'm the vice chairman of the Sumner County Republican Women. When we had our meeting, not a single person even brought it up. I know Susan Lynn, Representative Lynn, had the same response in Wilson County. I think that the Democrats are the ones that are ginned up about Speaker Casada, because he was a very conservative speaker and he got a lot of things done. And the Democrats, they're doing their job.
But I certainly won't discount those numbers. Like I said, I have issues with the Vanderbilt poll. However, those are the difference between them. That's not necessarily a margin of error issue or a slight sampling issue. So there's certainly a number of people that know about this and that do not view this in a good light whatsoever. But as we sit here today, he has set an August 2nd resignation date, and the most important thing that legislators can do at this point is make sure he gets held to that August 2nd resignation date.
And I was polled actually by the Vanderbilt poll, and the question about Speaker Casada was, of course, a leading question. If people knew who the Speaker even was in Tennessee, Beth would be governor, right? Most people have no idea who the Speaker of the House is in the legislature. They don't even know who it is. They think it might be Nancy Pelosi. They don't know.
Does As a speaker, they hear about a lot, maybe more than they hear about the speaker of the House
Yeah.
of Tennessee. If there is, for some reason, a special session and Glenn Casada has not stepped down, say it's held before August 2nd, what are the rules for how a speaker would be removed in terms of the number of votes? Is it a straight 50-vote majority? Does it take 2/3? How does that even set out anywhere?
There's no way to remove him according to the state constitution. So if he had decided not to resign, he would have been speaker until the 2-year term was up.
Is another problem with having a special session at this point that the fact that the last time the legislature had a special session and they had a problem with a member, and that was another one of his fellow Republicans, Representative Durham. That was not called for that reason, but they used that as an opportunity to oust him. Is there a concern that even though he could still be speaker and not be a member of the House, there might still be an effort if they can't? They might just say, "Well, we're going to remove you as a member." Period.
Well, that would take 2/3 of the body, and I know that there's a few members that would like for him to resign his House seat. That would be problematic on several fronts. For example, there would have to be a special election in Williamson County if that happened.
But they have special elections in the legislature. They had quite a few even last year. People left to go for the seats, so that's not complete game changer. Is it?
What is interesting about that scenario, though, is that, as you just stated a little bit ago, the state constitution does not require the Speaker of the House to be a member of the legislature.
Exactly.
So even expelling him as a representative, as it was done, he could still technically be Speaker according to the state constitution.
Michael Sullivan's our guest. He's the executive director of the state Republican Party. Debra Maggart, a former Republican representative in the state legislature, now a lobbyist on the Hill, is also with us. We're talking about the Casada scandal. Back with more in our final segment after this break.